Welcome to the Just a Bit Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Bertazoid Townsend, and with me today is Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Adrian.
Ryan is taking a week off this week. This would be his normal week. So we're going to do another retro talk, and we've been streaming a game, Rule of Rose, and if you haven't been watching us, it's a bit frustrating, so we're going to talk about that as well. I also had a few our podcast recommendation I wanted to give you guys. But to start things off, as you know, the SNES Classic came out about a month ago. And it's really cool. It's really fun. It's awesome to be able to play these old retro games on modern televisions with, HD graphics and using the same controller that you used on the regular, on the Super Nintendo originally. So what I wanted to talk about with that is how its effect on collecting. Because I think that with the release of the SNES Classic and the SNES Classic, people are debating on whether or not they want to hold on to their collection, because this is now the preferred way to play these games, and I'm completely in agreement with that. I mean, since I got the Super Nintendo Classic, I haven't played these. I haven't touched them, and I don't know that I will. And it's kind of been it's kind of a weird situation where I collect to play, but I also collect to have and to be able to look at it and remember these games and look at the art on the boxes and everything. So that's something that's really cool to me, and I love having them. So I don't intend on selling by any means, but that's not to say that the thought didn't cross my mind. It's like I can play these games now on an HD system where I just plug it in and go, and I can select any game
What's
easily.
The difference between a ROM, though? Because, the way I guess what's confusing to me is, people have been able to get these, haven't they?
So the difference is, yes, I've always had these games. I've always been able to play them on my PC via emulation. I have a Wii that I hacked that allowed me to play these games, and I did. You've seen me lay in bed just playing old games via emulation and stuff. The difference is the controller, I guess. To me, the controller says a lot. To be able to play these old school games on the original controller is really cool to me.
Is the NES that way? You have the original controller? Okay.
Yeah. But when I play them on the Wii, I'm using that classic, or that not classic. They have a controller that you attach to the Wii remote, and then I would play using that. And it didn't really have the same feel for me. It was fine. It worked.
What do you think it is? Like, what's missing?
It's nostalgia. For me, anyway, it's nostalgia. It's being able to play these games on this controller that they were intended to be played with. And that kind of hits the right chords for me, and it makes it fun. Not to mention, having that little NES and SNES Classic, they're so cool. The little tiny little... Aesthetically, they're aesthetically pleasing to me. The user interface within the program, whenever you go and select your game, I love that. The music that plays in the background, the menu music, being able to select your game, save state, go back out to the menu, pick something else. Everything about it is just cool and convenient. And I can take it, it's so small, I can take it and move rooms with it, I can go to the living room and play, I can come in here and play. I feel like I'm getting... Oh, and the filters. I can put on filters that put scan lines on it that kind of resemble... Yeah. And that's how my preferred way to play it, actually. It kind of resembles playing on a tube TV. But it's something that is... I feel like I'm getting as good an experience with those as I did playing these. And another big advantage is the HD. I know I've said that several times already, but I was playing these on my console on an HD TV, and they were blurry. They didn't look very good, and it was hard to tell what I was seeing. Now, I do have a tube TV, but the thing is gigantic. And
you have to go to the garage.
I keep it in the garage to play it because it's just we don't have room in the house for it. And times that I go out to the garage and play video games is few. You know,
right. The weather's going to be just right.
Yeah, it's either too hot or too cold out there, so therefore I don't utilize it as much as I would like to. But when I got the Super Nintendo Classic and I hacked it and I put all the games on it, all the games that I want to play on it, I started thinking, I was like, do I really want to hold on to this collection of mine? And the thing is, yes, I do. The times that we had finding these, I mean, there was one in particular where most of my collection came from this Craigslist find that I had.
Yep.
And you went with me, you picked me up from work, and we went to go get it. I think I told the story on here
Yeah, we
already.
told that story.
That is one of those situations where the memory of getting that collection and everything, that's really important to me. And it was a good time, and we had fun, and I don't want to get rid of that. You know? I want to keep that, and I just I like to have it.
My thing, my thing is books. Like, I collect books the way you collect games, and I mean, now the way I think of it is, it's cool that I can get like the digital copy, but sometimes, like, I don't know what it is about. For me, it's just I like having the actual
physical thing.
The physical thing, yeah.
I agree. I mean, that's kind of the attachment as well.
Right.
But what I'm seeing is, you know, from Facebook groups and other places that I've seen online, some collectors have had that same dilemma that ran through my mind, and they're actually following through with it. It's like, well, if I can play these games...
It's honestly surprising to me. I don't know why.
They collect to play, and if they can...
Okay, that makes sense.
Like I said, if they can have a similar enough experience, having the controller, having that little mini system on a modern TV without having had a tube TV in here, if they can still experience those games, then that's all they care about.
Do you think the value is going to go down then? Because
that's kind of what I'm trying to get to here is maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it will. I mean, with the re-release of the NES Classic next year, the Super Nintendo Classic, everybody's getting those. People are getting that nostalgia filled through these systems. And collectors are talking about and may be acting upon getting rid of their collections. And I think this might be the beginning of not a burst in the collecting bubble, but maybe a reset or what do you call it? Where everything is reevaluated and you know it levels out and it comes down into a price point that's comfortable.
Right.
I can't think of the terms.
Marketing didn't stick with us.
What?
I said marketing and college didn't stick with us, all of those terms.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I definitely think we are going to see a trend downward in pricing. And I've already started to see that, to be honest with you, with more than just cartridge-based systems.
I think that's genius of Nintendo as well, because you look at this like this collecting world and they had already sold these games. So how can they tap into this market with these people who are wanting to play these games? And this is the answer to it. I think
you're absolutely
genius.
right. You're absolutely right. And well, it's not genius. It's something that they've known they've had to do. And people have been saying Nintendo is slow to react. This is something they should have done.
But I don't see
years ago.
I don't see other game companies. You know, I don't see...
Sega does it. They sell the rights to other companies too. As far as I'm aware, they sell the rights for other companies to make these retro systems.
Okay.
There's one out now that a lot of people have problems with. The menu system is kind of janky, and the way you navigate it within and navigate to different games is real kind of weird. I would like to see a proper good release of a Sega Genesis or Sega Master System type thing, and with the success of it, maybe they might do it, but maybe not, because I don't know how successful the ones they have out are. But I would like to see something like that for sure. But I think you're right with Nintendo wanting to, you know, tap into the collecting market, and they're doing it. Yet they had a rough start with the NES Classic, not producing enough, not meeting demand, but they're actually making right. And I'm still seeing the NES Classic on my groups. People are taking pictures at their local Walmarts or Targets or whatever to show that restocks are happening and people are getting them. And I think that everybody who wants one is going to be able to get one. And that's awesome. That's great.
Good.
It's
take that, scalpers.
Yeah. It's nice to see that people are going to be able to experience these games and share them with their kids.
Right.
And, we've kind of done the same, or I have. I took the Super Nintendo Classic out to the living room and plugged it in and let the kids play Kirby and a little bit of Mario. But Kirby seems to be their game. They love Kirby. Is. Kirby's easy.
I was going to say, it seems easy. So even the 4-year-old, 3-year-old can do that. Owen
loves Kirby. Owen and I would play... We were playing the beat-em-ups like Turtles in Time.
Did he like that?
Yeah, he did. He was having a good time with that.
Of course he would.
We'd play some fighting games, and I would try to let him win. But I can't do that.
You are so competitive. It's so hard. Funny.
You basically just got to sit there because what he does is he'll stay in one place and just keep punching or kicking or whatever and not move. So I'm like, okay, I'll move up closer, let him hit me, and then he'll hit me, and then I got to hit him back. So
you act like the big brother.
It's like, I just can't sit here and let you beat my character up. I got to hit you back. Well... I usually hit with the stronger attack and take him out sooner. But I have let him win. We played the Turtles fighting game, Tournament Fighters, I think that's what it's called. And I let him win several in a row. So I did my part.
Wow.
All right. But on top of that, my middle daughter, she's really into kind of old school RPGs like I am.
Yes.
I think that's really cool.
Yep, she's definitely your daughter.
Thank you, Undertale, for doing that for her.
Right?
That's the game that did it.
Right.
I downloaded that game out of curiosity for myself because of all the buzz around it and everything. I barely played it.
Right.
Didn't get far into it at all.
Okay.
She found it, started playing it. She's beaten that game several times.
Right. Because they've got, well, again, smart on a game developer's sense. You can either kill all of the bosses or keep them all alive, and it like changes things.
And it's not just pick your attack and go with it. There's like little mini games that you're playing during the boss battles.
In order to
and so she's sitting there like dodging arrows and stuff as they're coming at her, and she is super
her
good
reaction
at it.
time
blows me away.
It's scary.
She was playing the last character, or the last boss, she calls him Undyne.
I was gonna say Undyne.
Undyne. She talks about Undyne and how hard Undyne is. So I was watching her behind her back. She didn't know I was watching her. She's fighting this boss, and I was like, I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're this little dot, and you have to dodge these arrows. It's in a box, and these arrows are coming and trying to hit your little dot, and you got to dodge them. But then it will change to where you got to push the arrows, kind of like an old what's that? Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes, yeah.
So you're pushing the arrows in time with when it pops up on your screen, and it's going really fast.
Right, it's really fast.
And I remember playing the old Dance Dance Revolution with the keyboard.
Yeah.
Remember your brother showed us that, and we downloaded it and started playing it. That was fun.
That was fun.
But I don't ever think I was as good as what she is. It's blowing me away. So with her interest in that, I said, well, Earthbound is a big influence on that game.
Yep.
And she goes, oh, yeah. And she starts telling me about Earthbound.
Because she watches all of her YouTube
She knew
videos.
all about Earthbound. She knew about the characters. She knew about Mother 3. She knew about the characters in Mother 3. I don't even know much about Mother 3. I've never played it. It was a Game Boy Advance game that I don't know was even released here. But they do have versions of it out, ROMs out that are translated.
She'd probably be really good at doing an RPG podcast.
I'm gonna give her an interview soon. She's not here today, otherwise I would do it for this episode. But
it's her anniversary weekend, so
nice. Yeah, with kid-free weekend. It was fun.
It was amazing. Slept in.
So yeah, I do want to interview her and get her knowledge on old school RPGs. So her big thing now that I showed her Earthbound, she's all about it, and she wants to play it.
She wants to stream it.
She wants to stream it. She keeps asking me if she can come in here and play it, and I let her. Like, have a way.
I enjoy
bought this
hearing
thing so
her
we can all experience
compare things too. She's like, "Oh, this is like this." Like The entire time she plays, she talks. She's my kid.
She's catching the references made in her game.
And she's
loving it. Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, it's fun to be able to show the kids, what we grew up with. Even though I didn't really grow up with the Super Nintendo.
Right. I did though. That was my console.
Did you have an NES or did you just...
No, we didn't have an NES.
Okay, so mine was just the opposite. I had a Nintendo. Skipped the Super Nintendo generation completely. But that's not to say I didn't get to experience those games. I had friends. And a lot of my friends...
I think that's because my younger brother is the one... Like, games really weren't on my radar. I had seen an NES and I thought it was neat, but... It wasn't my thing. Yeah. And then my younger brother, he saw, I guess, the commercials and he was drawn to it. So then that's when we jumped on. So, and he is a lot younger than you. How many? I would say 5 or 6.
5 years.
Right. So for us, really, the Nintendo or the NES wasn't really on our radar. And then from the SNES, we got the 64.
Yeah.
And then I left. Or moved out. I left.
And you left to join me, and you bought me a
and then
GameCube,
I wooed you with Nintendo.
That's right. Yeah, but I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I had an NES, and I remember my first time experiencing the NES and how blown away by it I was.
What was it that you were blown away by?
Just just video games. The concept of a video game. Super Mario Brothers was his first. The original Super Mario Brothers was the very first video game I ever saw, and it was at a friend's house. Went there and they were playing it, and I wanted to play. I don't remember if I actually got to play or not, but from that time on I wanted one so bad I couldn't stand it. My parents did get me one for Christmas one year, and we still have it. It's right over there. Still works, still plays. I had a bunch of games for it, and I played the heck out of it.
I remember, though, when we picked it back up from your dad's house, because after you had moved, you put it in your closet storage. But then when you pulled it back out and were cleaning it, like
there's spider webs and stuff.
There's spider webs, but there was even like a bobby pin that was in there, like random stuff.
Yeah. I mean, because the thing opens and
and I wondered how long crumbs were in there.
So I had a Genesis for a short period of time, but I basically went from regular Nintendo to a PlayStation 1 when it first came out. So yeah, but I did get to play all those games. I had friends that had Mario Kart, Street Fighter,
right.
Mega Man X was a big one that I remember playing. I just experienced, the more common first party Nintendo titles, but I never got to jump into RPGs. That wasn't until PS1, and that's the reason I mentioned that is because that's what I'm most passionate about collecting now. But yeah, so I got to miss out on a lot of fantastic RPGs on the Super Nintendo. And, I've gone back and tried to play them again, or not again, but for the first time. And I get so far in them, and then I kind of take a break and then come back to them. They're still really great, but the time investment is something that's difficult with any RPG.
Right.
But yeah, I'm enjoying going back and playing Chrono Trigger. I put Chrono Trigger on my Super Nintendo Classic. A Mario RPG, that's a really fun one. That's one I never got to play growing up, and I only really got to play it here recently, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. The Final Fantasy, Super Nintendo 2 and 3. Having a great time with those, but to get back on topic here, Katie was going to play through Earthbound, and I'm going to watch her play through it. We might possibly stream it if she wants. She does want. She
would love to, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to wait till we get through Rule of Rose first.
If we get through.
If we get through it. Segue. Rule of Rose, Amy.
It's...
That's my rough segue. Thanks, Ryan. You could point that one out for me.
I love the game. I love how weird it is. I love everything about it. And mostly I love how weird it is, how creepy it is. And at first I felt like it was a little slow in the beginning and it was just kind of weird. And then as we've gone on, it's really gotten creepy. Like,
okay, so to back up a bit, Amy and I have been playing Rule of Rose on the PlayStation 2.
Right.
And we've been streaming it and having a good time with it, I think.
Yeah.
I was a little bit bored in the beginning of the game, and as we've progressed, I've gotten more into it. But something happened. Something happened that broke my spirit, and I'll get into that. But let's talk about Rule of Rose real quick and what it is for those who don't know. Rule of Rose is a PlayStation 2 horror game with a lot of symbolism and towards, violence towards children, I guess.
Right.
And it's a creepy thing, and it's a very touchy subject matter.
Right. But it's all very, like you said, symbolism. It's not like outright.
Nothing
because I'm pretty sensitive to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like usually I can't do that, but how they do it is not.
Like if you weren't trying to evaluate what you think is going on,
right,
you wouldn't know what was going on.
Right. You'd just be like, ooh, that's kind of creepy. But then after you get into the symbolism of it, then you're like, oh, yeah. Now I see it.
And Silent Hill 2 does this very well. Like originally when I played through Silent Hill 2, I think I missed out on a good chunk of the symbolism because I wasn't really analyzing what was going on with these characters in the game. And it touched on a lot of different things like rape, incest rape, actually, with one character, which was pretty disturbing and disgusting. And it touched on that. It touched on a psychotic guy with, who had a hard time growing up and was bullied a lot, and how he lashed out as a result. It was just touching on different things that were,
traumatic, tragic,
and just stuff that games don't really touch on.
Right. And
it was doing it in a very subtle, if you aren't analyzing, you're going to miss it type of way.
Artistic, yeah.
Rule of Rose does this as well. And I'm enjoying that part of it. It's the gameplay that's killing it for me. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I want to talk about what this game is in the collector's community and why is it something special? Why are we even playing it?
Right, yeah.
So, Rule of Rose is probably, if not the most expensive, one of the most expensive PS2 games. There weren't very many copies of it made. It was made late into the PlayStation 2's life cycle. The Xbox 360 had already come out by the time this game came out. And it was made in limited runs, and I think it was actually banned in certain countries because of the subject matter. And that's another thing that kind of contributes to its rarity. I didn't hear about this game when it originally came out. We were deep into Halo 2 and Halo 3 at that point.
Our Halo 2 days.
So I missed out on a lot of late cycle PS2 games. Never even heard of this one until a few years ago when I got into collecting. Horror games is another thing that I really like to collect.
Which I enjoy a lot. I mean, I enjoy JRPGs watching them, but I think I enjoy horror
is
the
easier
most.
To watch
than
a JRPG.
Because they're very story driven. Not that the other ones, and it's not
grind heavy. There's a lot of downtime in an RPG.
I think it's not grind heavy, which is what I enjoy.
But one of the games, I've said this before in the podcast, but one of the games that really got me into gaming was the original Resident Evil on PlayStation 1. And so that holds a special place to me and has made me like seek out and find other games, other horror games similar to it. Well, this one completely slipped past me. And when I got into collecting, I was looking to see what horror games are out there and what did I miss in that genre. And Rule of Rose was one of those that popped up. I was like, okay, I've never heard of this before. I started watching a few videos on it, reading some reviews about it and whatever else, just to find out about it. I was like, I have to have this game. I want to play this game. This looks like Silent Hill 2
I remember you showing me the trailer, and I thought, that looks great. Yeah, we need this game. Yeah. I want this game. Yeah.
And Silent Hill 2 being one of my favorite horror games, I had to get it. Yeah. So anyway, it was been about a year ago or so. I actually dropped the money and bought it. It was like $150, which actually is not bad. That game hovers around the $200 mark.
Well, that's what made you pull the trigger, though, is that you were able to get it a little bit
cheaper, and I wanted to play it. I tried emulating it.
That's your first game. This is funny to me. That was your first game that you had such a hard time. You're like, you kept saying, I can't believe I'm going to spend this much money on a game.
On a PS2
I
game,
can't believe I'm going to spend this much money on one game. And I was like, shut up and just do it.
That was the first time I spent a good chunk of money on a game.
And now it's less painful, isn't it?
Less painful now?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm just saying, like, you finally did it once. You're like, okay.
It's still painful. It's still painful. But yeah, once you make that jump once, it's a little bit easier.
It's the gateway.
Yeah, it's the gateway drug. But yeah, so I went ahead and bought it. I think I started to play it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I got kind of bored with it. The game is very slow when you start off. In the beginning,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't watching it with you. I think it helps to clear the boredom that you and I are able to sit there and chat about it and make comments and...
Yeah. Actually, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because when I first started it, I would play it in here and just lay in bed and play it. And I'd end up falling asleep.
Yeah, I was already asleep.
This game, it starts off so slow. Like, when you first start out the game, you are let off a bus and you have to walk down. You're not let off a bus. You get off the bus. For whatever reason, she just gets off the bus because she sees a little kid.
Yeah.
And so she feels drawn to have to go chase this kid for whatever reason.
Because he hands her this book he wrote.
Yeah. And so she gets off the bus drives away, and she's stuck out in the middle of nowhere, more or less, with and it's dark and, nowhere to go. And so she starts walking up the pathway and comes up to this orphanage. Mm-hmm. And there's kids, like, creeping up and looking at her. Yeah, it's not
like a nice, pretty little orphanage with flowers. No, it's like kids with paper bag masks over their heads, and you can see them hitting the bag.
They're hitting a bag, and it's a bloody bag.
It's a bloody bag, and they're just going to town on this bag, and then they disappear, and then as you're walking next to the fence, you hear whispering and laughing and running, and it's just like, what?
It's like, at that point in time, I would stop, turn around, and go the other way.
Yeah. It reminds me in reality, I'd have been like,
Resident Evil 7.
I played this game.
Starts off that way. Mm-hmm. Remember, the guy's walking up to this mansion, and he sees, like, dead stuff hanging from trees, and he comes up to this creepy mansion and everything, and he just keeps on going forward. I was like, dude, I would have stopped and turned around the other way, walked the other way a long time ago. Same type of situation. Mm-hmm. So it starts off really strong in that sense. Like, I gotta find out what's in this orphanage, and what the heck are these kids doing here, and what the heck is in that bag. So you get in there, and you start opening doors, and there's creepy kids with bags on their head, and they close the door.
And every time they do that, like, every time you think you're gonna go in the door, it's not like all of a sudden you think you're gonna go in the door, and then one of their little, like, faces kind of pop out, and then they slam the door on you. So it's always like, it's always...
It's jarring and jump scary, I guess. Yeah. But you start exploring this orphanage, and I must say the orphanage is not...
No.
It's not very...
Because you can't really go anywhere. Like, there's a lot of... Most of the doors, I would even say...
You can't go through.
You can't go through, and they slam the door in your face.
So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. Where can I go?
Yeah. And
then you finally work your way up to the top of the orphanage in the attic space, I guess. And you... What do you remember why we had to go back down to the courtyard? Something happened. Did we run into something? I don't think we
were looking for something in the courtyard.
We were chasing some kid, and that's how we got up to the attic. For whatever reason, I don't remember why. And that's just kind of to tell you, I mean, that's another way to show that this game was slow starting. The orphanage was not a very cool looking place. It was on the outside, but once you got on the inside, it's just
like a house.
Hallways and corridors. It's not nearly as interesting as the mansion was in Resident Evil 1. Like, I wanted to see what was in that mansion. Every room was different. This is very samey. It was a boring place to explore. So you get down to the bottom, into the courtyard, and for whatever reason, she feels like she needs to dig up this grave. It's like a mound of dirt. She starts digging it up.
Because she thought she was going to find out what was in that bag.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. And then you start digging it up, and these kids show up behind you and just start dumping water on your head for whatever reason. It was really weird.
I'm sure there's symbolism behind it. Like, maybe if we play the game, it'll make sense.
I'm not a literature major.
I enjoy
English
that,
major.
though. I like the symbolism, so I'll probably figure it out for us.
I like experiencing it and then listening to somebody else who analyzes that stuff and explain it. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Like, I'm not a deeply analytical person. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm just not.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
Yeah. So They dumped all this water in her head, and she's just sitting there, just taking it.
Right. She's always.
What is her name? Jennifer? Jennifer is the worst protagonist in any game I've ever played.
I want to feel bad for her, but even
you can't.
Even I want to push her in the hole and cover it up.
She is just...
I'm going to demonstrate how she punches.
Yeah. She doesn't punch. She just kind of...
You have to see the YouTube to see it.
It's pathetic. It really is.
She always stands there like she's like... and she's just like... It's like...
She's so like...
Come on.
Weak. She doesn't defend herself.
No.
Worth a damn at all. She's just... Anything that... Like, you wanted to feel sorry for her in the beginning and be like, yeah, well, let's get out of this. But every time you move forward, something else happens to her, and she does absolutely nothing to protect herself. Nothing. She just lets it happen. Yeah, and it's like, I can't sympathize with you anymore, Jennifer. You are doomed to fail. I don't even want to be you, because I would think that if I were put in your shoes, I would be fighting for my life here, but you're not, and you're just kind of letting it go. So, I don't know. Maybe as we finish the game, we'll find out why, but at this point, I don't know. So you get pushed into this coffin, basically.
Yep.
And they nail it shut and start carrying you away. And then next thing you know, you wake up and you're on this airship.
Right.
And so now we are exploring this airship and trying to figure out what these kids are. So they formulated their group.
They formulated, it's like a hierarchy of, there's the red rose princess and there's a prince, but you never really see them. And in fact, I think they're alluding that those dolls are it, because the doll was sitting in the chair.
I thought that the kid in the attic, or remember that kid that was sitting up top of the throne with the candles and everything, and I thought he was the
prince.
Yeah,
he might be the prince, but they call all of the boys, all of the girls and all of the boys are princesses and princes, but they also have structured their society.
Yeah, it's what it's called, the aristocrat society.
And there's the duchess and the baroness, and it just goes down. And these characters are just they're crazy, because each chapter of the game you're exploring a different. As far as I know, right now we're just going through the girls,
right?
And the boys.
You're experiencing like their kind of story, each individual person's story. And it's really strange. But
Diana is the leader, and she is just
a bitch.
Hateful. Just like clearly something happened to you that makes you psychotic.
Yeah. And then you have the people that are on the lowest tier, and there's two of them, Amanda and Jennifer. Amanda's this chubby little girl who she looks creepy. Yeah, she looks like a little troll.
Like literally.
And and
she's there. Every character, they did really good. Like, every character is insane. Like, she's so like bipolar. Like, 1 minute she's like, forgive me, and then the next minute when she gets a taste of being able to go up the rung, they have the scene where the lowest member of the society has to have this rat on a stick, and the rat is alive. They've tied the rat, and they just like
shoving it in
the face, and it's just like,
it's weird.
It's so weird. It's just
And so all Amanda wants to do is get out of the bottom. Right. She doesn't want to be this peon anymore. She wants to be a part of the club, and so she does everything she can to do that. Well, one of the things that we had to do was find a butterfly.
Yeah.
We found the prettier butterfly, I think. And so we were able to go up one tier in the ranking system above Amanda, and then we had to shove the rat in her face, and it was...
Oh, I thought it was because we found the bird, finally.
The bird. To go up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Jennifer is making her way up the tiers, and...
I have a feeling, though, they're never going to let her. Like, it's
they probably
rigged.
Won't.
It's definitely rigged.
She doesn't deserve it. She has no backbone.
That's so true.
So anyway, they theme your enemies according to whatever is going on. Like the bird one, we were trying to find this red bird, and all of the enemies were they look like little kids with masks on, and they looked like birds that were trying to peck you, I guess.
Have you ever seen those, like, it's like a
the water
perpetual
things.
thing, and it dips its beak in and then goes back. It kind of, they look like that.
Yeah.
But
So, and then the one we're on right now. Okay, this is where things get
it's okay.
very frustrating for me. Okay, first of all, the controls are so infuriating. The hit detection is non-existent.
Right.
Like sometimes you'll swing at an enemy.
There isn't any way to even indicate.
No, there's no way to know if you're going to hit this.
And it's not even like 50-50 either. It's just.
So you find weapons, you find knives. We found a pipe. We were using the pipe for a while, and different things like that. And you have to fight these little creepy ghost kids,
children. Yeah.
And you, whenever you try to stab them with the knife, all she does is it's worse than her punch. She just kind of just thrusts it out there. You can't cut anything with the amount of force that she gives. So she is trying to fight these enemies, and every time that I swing at them, my knife goes through their body.
Yeah.
And no damage is done.
And then they jump on you and they like latch onto you.
And start hugging you or something. I don't know what they're doing, but it knocks you down, and then it takes you like 5 seconds to get back up. Yeah,
she like lays there for a second and then slowly gets up and then stands there a second, and then you can go.
And then you can play. Yeah, it's so bad. And
when you're having like a big boss, that's
so okay. Terrible. This is the controls were bad, but you can run past most of the enemies, and it's okay.
Spread them out, yeah.
You can spread them out and get through them without having to fight them, and that's ideal. You don't want to have to fight anybody because she can't fight. So we are on the mermaid boss stage, and I didn't realize with people who've already played this game, this is notoriously hard boss.
Yeah. It's this one, if not the hardest.
Yeah, I read up on it just to see if I was doing something wrong after she kicked my ass like 3 times in a row.
And this fight is long.
It's long. It's long. Like a 10-minute fight.
Yeah.
So.
And you can't tell how close you are. That's what bothers me.
Let's describe this boss, because first of all, the reason why I want to keep playing this game, the boss is extremely hard and the game is broken. But this boss in particular is so like disturbing.
Yeah, it is. And some of the symbolism, some of the theorized symbolism behind it, it makes sense. It does, and it makes it even more disturbing to me. Like already, when I didn't know that about it, I was like, "That's really creepy." And then when I read what other people have, again, theorized as the symbolism behind it, it just makes it worse.
So when you're in this part of the stage, you're following fish. Oh, we didn't even talk about the dog. The dog is a huge part of this game.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Brown. His name's Brown. I call him Duke.
I was going to say, the reason why you had a hard time remembering is because you refused to call him by his name.
I call him everything but Brown. I think Brown is a crappy name for a dog.
Duke.
Well, I just went with something generic, but yeah. So Brown, whenever you find an item, you let him sniff it and he'll lead you to it. Mm-hmm. So this game is mostly that. It is find an item, let him sniff it, he'll lead you to the next one, you pick it up, have him sniff that, and just keep going in that routine until you get to the next boss or the next area or whatever. That's basically the gist of the game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would. I mean, sometimes you have to puzzle find something.
There's very few puzzles. I can't even think of one, to be honest with you. Which one?
Like, well, I mean, we had to find the codes to get into all of the boxes. Okay. And then we had to find the little birds on
I mean, it wasn't really a puzzle, though. It was just, you find the next piece, you let him sniff it, he takes you to the next piece, you let him sniff it.
Well, but the funny thing is we missed that box when we were first doing this. We missed it. And we spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out what to do.
I had to resort to looking it up online because I was getting
And we have a friend of mine who is watching it with us, and she's played it before.
Shout out Holly.
She's been helping us, which has made it even better. Like, she's
already played through the game.
It's what makes it. That's why I really encourage you to continue it, because I mean, it's like she's been there, like she's been talking about, like, yep, it's so frustrating.
If anybody else out there wants to watch us play, we've been streaming the entire game on Twitch. Yep. I announce it on Twitter and Instagram sometimes, but mostly Twitter. Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, I'll announce when we get back on. But we're gonna finish this game.
Yep.
I've been taking a break from it because
and I've got to work.
Sucks.
So
yeah, it's going to be past December, but we are going to finish it. And then I hope to
past December.
October.
Okay, I was like, whoa.
No, October. And then I hope to you and I maybe write a review, or not write a review, do a video.
Yeah.
Review
oh yeah, I love it.
We're kind of reviewing it right now. We'll expand on that.
Yeah, we will. We won't do this again. We'll do our end.
We won't bore you with the details. So you get to this boss. What were we talking about? The dog. Oh yeah, the gameplay aspect of the dog. That's what it is. And we'll talk about more of that in the review. But this boss that we're coming up to, what do you remember her name?
Is it Claire?
I don't know. I don't remember her name at all. But
in the very beginning, you see her walking with this man, this strange man, and nothing said, nobody's saying anything, but just the whole tone of it, you have a really sick feeling. You don't really like it, and they just walk down this hallway together and just. And
there's nothing going on that might lead you to think that something bad is going on, but it's uneasy. The game does a good job of making you feel like something bad is going on. So you follow them and you get to this room, and the cutscene takes place where you see the old man sitting on a bed, and then you go ahead and go through the door. The old man's gone. But then there's the girl that you were following is laying there in that bed, and she gets pulled up into the ceiling by her feet.
Right.
And this is called the mermaid boss.
Yeah. So her feet are all entwined. Not like, it looks like there's either a net or something wrapped around her legs to make her legs and feet look like a mermaid tail.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it. She even has gills on her sides
that are cut in. Is it cut through her skin?
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Or I just know they're gills. And then in the stomach, she's been gutted.
Yeah.
So like you can see that.
And this is a little girl. Like, would you say like 13, 14-year-old girl?
Right. Yeah.
That's what makes this the most disturbing. I mean, it's already disturbing.
And she has like no eyes, or their eyes are black. So.
And she's crying and vomiting. So this is stuff that I'm talking about. Like makes me want to continue playing the game. But this boss is so hard, and it's not because I'm bad at the game. The game is so broken. The hit detection is so broken that I can't beat this boss. I'll go up to her, and to explain what she does, she goes around the ceiling, and you can't see where she's going to be. You don't
know where she'll drop.
So just drop randomly in different areas. Sometimes it might be right on top of you.
Yeah.
And if she drops on top of you, it's going to take you 5 seconds to get back up again and try to fight her.
Yeah.
In the meantime, she's vomiting this acid vomit all over the place, and if you fall down and she's vomiting on you, you're as good as dead, more or less. If you don't have enough healing items to keep yourself going, you're dead. So then you get up, and then when she drops down, you have to run over to her as quick as you can and try to get in a hit or two.
You only get, the most you've ever gotten in is two hits.
Yeah, and whenever you try to hit her, my freaking pole was going through her, and it wasn't registering as a hit.
And then she'd just turn right around and grab you, and you're like...
She'll turn around. I will be running across the room. She'll reach out and grab me and be this far away and still manage to knock me over or something. And then right after she knocks me over, she'll start vomiting on me, and then I'm just kind of screwed. Yeah, and then it's literally all over.
And
it's
the dog
a tiny
is
little
always
room.
Killed in this.
Yeah, the dog gets killed every time. Then if I'll go up and try to hit her, you could sometimes stop her from vomiting on you.
Right, if you hit
her in time. But if you are just even a second late, or you miss, because you miss all the time, and she vomits on you, you're going to lose a good chunk of health, and if not die. It's just,
and
it's
this
so
is
hard.
A long time. Like, again,
it was like 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I thought I was nearing, and there's no indication as to whether how close you are to beating her.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah, and so I felt like I was getting close to the end. I was out of healing items. I had like half health remaining. I go up there to go hit her. Got 2 more good hits. I was like, she's gonna die at any point. I just know it. And then she goes back up, comes back down, lands on top of me. I get up, get another hit on her, and then she vomits on me, kills me. That's it. 10 minutes, done. Tried it again. I did it 3 times. I think it took us about...
I got mad and said I was going to bed. So
we spent about 30 to 40 minutes trying to fight this boss. Because you don't just... Here's the other crappy part. You don't just have a save point and go straight up to the boss.
No.
The save point is relatively close, but you have to go through some enemies that you can't avoid.
Uh-huh.
And they crowd this little hallway, and you could try to run past them. If you're lucky, you'll get past them. But most of the time what happens is they'll end up knocking you over, and they're little fish-looking
because this is a mermaid.
And they'll start flopping around on the floor, and they'll hit you with those flops every single time. And then if you get caught in that, you're dead, and you gotta restart and try it.
And you
again.
can't you tell yourself, well, maybe if I just kill them all. No, the hit detection is so bad that you start trying to kill them and you keep missing them, and then by that time 7 of them have surrounded you, and then
she's constantly getting jerked back. She just jerks back a little bit, and in that point of time, that few seconds that it takes her to do that, you can't move. You can't attack back. You just got to sit there and let her finish her stupid animation before you can move forward, and then hope you can get by. It is infuriating. I can't say it enough. It is so infuriating. But I want to go back. I want to finish this game. I want to finish this game.
It's just so weird, so interesting. The story, I just want to know, what the heck is this? I have my own theory. I'm going to wait till we do the final for me to talk about what
we will get through this. I'm going to stick it out until I beat this.
Yay, really heard it. Now he has to. He's been worrying me that he wouldn't. It
might take me a little bit longer, but I'm going to keep going back and trying it. It's bugging me that this game is so broken that I can't do it. It sucks that this game makes you want to play because of the storyline and the material that it's covering, and you want to know what's going to happen next. You want to know what's up with these kids. Why are they so demonized?
Crazy, yeah.
But the controls just make you not want to play anymore, and it's really a sad situation because this could be a great game. Yeah. If the controls were fixed, I think this would be, every bit as highly regarded as Silent Hill 2 or something,
Do you think if you had seen, I was wondering, if you had seen the trailers and hadn't missed it, would it have been one that you, based off of what you saw, be something you'd wanted to play then?
When it came out?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why when I found out about it a few years ago and never heard of it before, I was like, how have I never heard of this?
Oh, and it's also a period piece. And I like period pieces. It's clearly set in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a cool game, and we'll trudge through it. But just as a reminder, follow us on Twitter at JABGcast. I'll post when we get back up there and again. It's usually between 9 and
we have to wait till
11.
The kids are in bed.
Yeah, before we play it. It's too scary for them, and
definitely.
Anyway, that's Rule of Rose. So let's try to wind this podcast down here.
Cool.
I wanted to talk about some retro pickups that I got the past week. So last weekend, Nintendo Bros, those guys, we talked about them in the last podcast. Yeah. We met them at Retropalooza. He posted up on Facebook, he was selling some games. Well, he had the entire Suikoden series that he was selling. And I have already, the 4th game, the 5th game, and Tactics. Mm-hmm. But I was missing 1, 2, and 3. And those are the ones that I wanted the most. Right. I have them digitally on PSN, but I wanted the physical. Mm-hmm. Well, he put them up on Facebook for a really good price, so I went ahead and called him up or messaged him and drove down and picked them up. And man, I'm super stoked to have those games finally.
Yeah. So now you have the complete.
I have the complete Suikoden series, and those are by JRPG and RPG collectors. Yep. Those are regarded as some of the top RPGs of all time.
Wow. Okay.
For the content covered, they're very mature, I guess, and mature in that they're covering politics and it's a political game. There's betrayal. You are forming an army in most of these games. I think on all of them, you are forming an army to take on another army who is trying to control all the nations, I guess, in this world. And so it's all about you going out and collecting people for your army. They call them the 108 stars that join your team, and they all contribute in some sort of way, whether you have cooks, people who actually help you in battles. And it's just, the storylines in these games are really, really highly regarded, especially Suikoden 2. That one is considered to be the best in the series, and I tend to agree. I'm about 3/4 of the way through that game, and I really, really enjoy it. It's the storyline is so good. The characters are so good. I love it. So that was an awesome new pickup to have all of those, and I'm excited. And I got one other pickup I found for a really good deal, cheapest price I've ever seen it anywhere. Landstalker on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
We went to Game Exchange, and they had it in box and cheaper than I've seen it anywhere. And that's been on my radar for a long time. So I was able to pick that up. Super excited about that. And that will be one that I get through eventually. It's another one for my bucket list, I have all these games that I want to play and I hope to play eventually. My retirement list.
There you go. That's fair enough.
I think all collectors like me who have kids and everything don't have time to play these games. They're like, there is another one for my retirement list. I'm another one of those guys. I just like to think that I'm going to be old and retired, and when I'm not doing something, with you or something,
I'll be knitting and you'll be playing.
You'll be sitting with me on our couch knitting while I'm playing my old RPGs. That's so funny to me. But I really think that would be something that we would do.
Oh, I do too. I'm not saying that in a joking manner.
It's going to be funny to see our generation, the electronic generation, in their 70s and 80s and how they are, and versus how people are now.
Yes.
It's completely different. I mean, what we grew up with versus what they grew up with.
Right.
I think that would be an interesting So, that's what I got. Also, I wanted to make a podcast recommendation. I've been testing out a lot of different podcasts lately.
Yep.
And I found one. It's called Showcase from Radiotopia. And they are talking about the Polybius conspiracy. Have you heard of this? I know you have. I've told you about it.
Well, I mean, you've told me a little bit about it.
But previous to that, you've never heard of this?
I'd never heard of it, no.
So what this is kind of like an urban legend among gamers. They say that back in 1983 in Oregon? No. Oh, man. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, they say that the government or some secret society or something created this arcade machine to, tap into kids' minds and kind of study them or whatever, and, turn them into zombies so they can do further tests and studies on them. Right. So the thing is nobody's ever seen this arcade machine, and it's mostly regarded as just a hoax,
Right.
But this podcast decides to, and especially since this conspiracy didn't come up until like the year 2000, almost 20 years later.
Weird. Okay.
So this guy who runs this, or who is telling the story, finds a guy who claims to have been abducted when he was a kid after playing Polybius. And his story is that he played Polybius and he's walking home. He gets abducted, and he meets this other kid while he's abducted, and this other kid helps him escape the abduction, but they're far away from home. And they make it back home, and nobody believes his story. He can't find this kid that helped him escape, and now he's having to live out the rest of his life with nobody believing that this happened to him. He went back to the arcade to show people this arcade game that he believes did this to him, and it's not there anymore. It's gone. Like, so it was only there for that one day. He gets abducted. Everything about everything he's saying is so unbelievable and just bizarre.
How old was he? Like, how old?
When it happened, I would guess around 12, 13, somewhere in there. I don't remember. I think he says...
I wonder, why would a 12 or 13-year-old,
lie about that?
Go to such depths.
That's just it. This guy who's doing this podcast also interviews people who knew him back then. And the general consensus is that he is very... he lies a lot and makes things different than what they are to gain attention, and stuff like that. But the thing is, this dude is so
adamant
about this. It's like, you can't really make it up. He sounds so believable. And there are actually people that the interviewer interviews that say, yeah, actually, there's plausible cause as to these things happening. And yeah, I remember that and this and that. So it's really, really weird. Like, it's something that I already blew off as being a hoax and ridiculous. And now I'm like, wow, did this actually happen? Well, I'm really curious about it. This podcast does a great job at making you think that this probably could have happened. Listen. It's good. And it's episodic. They've done 3 so far, maybe 4. I've only listened to 3, but they leave off with really heavy cliffhangers every time.
Why?
Yeah, I hate that. I would just want to binge listen to it.
So just let me know when it's finished and I can binge it.
It's like that other podcast that we listened to.
S-Town.
That was
so good.
Oh, so good. But they released all the episodes all at once so you could get through it. I wish this podcast did the same thing. So anyway, I definitely recommend. It's called Showcase from Radiotopia, the Polybius Conspiracy.
Polybius.
Yeah. Check it out. It's really good. And also, the Angry Video Game Nerd is just put out a video covering the Polybius conspiracy as well.
Is it a conspiracy?
I haven't watched it yet.
Itself?
We watched the first episode. He did it like episodically as well. And but I think he's put all of them together into one video now.
Okay.
But we need to watch that for sure. I love watching the Angry Video Game Nerd in general.
do too.
And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a joke thing, but he still is trying to play it up like it's a real thing.
Right.
He's doing a good job. So, yeah, check that out. Well, with that, I think I'm done. Yeah. I don't have anything else to talk about. We've covered all of our topics here.
I know. We did great.
Yeah, we did. Thanks for joining me again, Amy.
Yeah, I always love it.
Ryan will be back. I don't know whenever he has some time to record.
Yep.
In the meantime, look for us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're at JABGcast. Find us on YouTube. If you are just an audio listener, just look for Just a Bit Gaming on YouTube. We post the podcast, but I'm soon going to be posting other videos, such as the Rule of Rose review and stuff like that. So look for us there. And that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next week.